Hey guys, King of Charmanders here, and today I will be your judge, jury, and your analyst. So I am finally back home. I appreciate your guys' patience. I did as much as I could to try and create content, but because we were so busy with esports work stuff, and I was busy supporting my guys, I was too busy. I was really busy, so I tried to really make as much as I could while I was there. But I am back, so constant content will be coming out. And since you guys requested it, here is the Retro Cup summary for that. This was a lot like... So, Retro Cup was a lot like the Holiday Cup. A lot of things were very similar. Now, if you would like to, please consider contributing on ppoke.com right over here. Now, like I said before, Retro Cup was very similar to the Holiday Cup as far as, like, meta goes. You saw a lot of Frostless, you saw a lot of Psychic types, Psychic types were kind of the X factor of not being in Holiday Cup, but as you see, you saw a lot of Psychic types. I saw a lot of Mews, a lot of Cresselias, and a lot of Hypnos. I also saw DD a lot as well. You also saw a lot of somewhat anti-meta picks, such as Zangoose. Jellicent, in a sense, was an anti-meta pick because of its ability to have Ice Beam. Agrav also was there. It wasn't really too anti-meta. It's just the reason why Agrav wasn't too powerful in a sense was because I stand by it saying that Alolan Graveler wasn't a great Pokemon to use in this meta just because of its ability, just because it's too squishy. There's too many things in this meta that could effectively just wipe Alolan Graveler from the face of the planet. And if it ended up in the back where you had no energy advantage whatsoever, you're pretty much dead. Because a lot of things like Altaria can Dragon Breath you down, or it was just very susceptible to getting farmed down at low health. Just because Volt Switch is a 4-turn move and it's relatively slow. So overall, Retro Cup was kind of meh in my opinion. So the King of Lick, the Licky, the one that will take its tongue out and wipe your Pokemon, make it all slobbery and possibly take you out in your match, is Lickitung XL. Everyone that I knew that had this monstrosity was doing very well in the Retro Cup. It was just so powerful. It covered such a wide variety of the meta, and there was practically nothing that could really hard beat it besides fighters and pseudo fighters. As you see here, a lot of people did run Medicham and Deoxys defense just to basically take out Lickitung. I even saw some Toxicroak in here to take out Lickitung. Even though in my opinion Toxicroak was kind of a bad idea just because of Hypno possibly run around, I actually ran Hypno a little bit in this cup, but it was just so godforsakenly dominant. Lickitung XL really presented the problem with XL Pokemon and just how oppressive they are, and yeah, it was really freaking good. Frostless was also a number problem. Frostless with the 2-shield Frostless strat, as I predicted, like, way before, like, when I first saw this cup, was Queen. The Queen of Ice literally ran through your entire line like Swiss cheese as long as it had shield advantage or energy advantage. A lot of times, too, I would get into the Frostless mirror and you would have to either play out your opponent and hopefully bait out a shield and get energy lead, or it was just, it's really up to you. It's really up to whether or not your Frostless has so much energy, etc. But Frostless was just obscenely powerful in this meta. I saw a lot of Cresselia, I saw a lot of Mew. Shockingly, I saw a lot of Regirock. Well, not a lot of Regirock, but I saw a few of them as well. Regirock was pretty beastly in this meta, being able to take out the Ice archetype. I saw a few Abomasnows in there, but its ability to essentially one-shot Frostless and give Altaria a hard time made it a really, really valuable Pokemon. Even though it's really inaccessible because Great League Regirock is really, really hard to find. Hypno was also out here. Hypno was a great save switch. It also did very, very well in this cup. The ability to just have so much variety as far as punches goes, as well as its charge move, just made Hypno such a valuable pick in the rankings. Also, as you see here, things like Deoxys defense, Drifblim was another sleeper pick. With Icy Wind, you put Altaria in danger, and with Shadow Ball, you basically wiped out so many ghost types. It wasn't even funny. Drifblim also gave a hard time for Frostless users because Hex is super effective. Also, Shadow Ball hits like a truck. You also saw a lot of Medicham. I also saw a lot of Medicham XL as well. Medicham XL was still really good in this meta for its ability to basically punch its way through the Ice archetype And it still did rear if you could hit a psychic, or if you could actually beat Altaria to 2 shield with Ice Punch. Psychic also does big damage. I did get KO'd a lot of times by Medicham's Psychic because I guessed wrong. Happens to all of us, and we're like, maybe this doesn't seem like a Psychic, and sure enough, it's a Psychic. But yeah, there were a lot of Pokemon that were viable in this meta, but it was very similar to Holiday Cup, just with the addition of Psychic types. And with the addition of XLs, if you had, like I said, if you had Lickitung XL, it was very good for you. So those are the pros of the cup are that... So there are actually a few pros in this cup. A good pro is that Pokemon you used before were actually viable. So for example, things like Altaria were very powerful, things like Hypno. So it shows that some Pokemon have long-term use, and if you did invest in Altaria, especially now that it has Moonblast, as well as Hypno, it's a great generalist and a great safe switch for Open Great League, you got a lot of value for them because they're still used for a very long time. Another pro is that a lot of cheat cores were very powerful. For example, I saw a lot of Altaria and Hypno. I saw Altaria like a mother in this cup. So Altaria is a very good budget pick for the fact that for the second move, it only costs 10k dust. Yes, it's a lot of candy, but since was just a community for it, you should be able to get our build and Altaria by now. Or if you had one for a long time, your Altaria has given you a lot of value for your money. So in other words, a lot of Pokemon that before, for example, especially like Frostus, Abomasnow, a lot of good Pokemon for there were very good picks to invest in. That's a good thing. And Frostus and Altaria were also great for the Holiday Cup, and even Altaria for the Great League Remix. So it just shows you a lot of budget picks really did well in this cup. Now, another pro was that, actually that's probably the only pro I saw. A big con of the cup, however, was that Lickitung XL was extremely broken. The sheer reason people were literally running fighters were to catch Lickitung XLs or things like Vigoroth, other normal types, because they were so godforsaken. This thing is just so powerful. I had a Lickitung XL run through my Altaria in a 2 shield. I also had it run with 2 shields. It also was able to essentially just like bully its way through Frostus, and it was just so powerful. It really shows the problem of barrier to entry for Pokemon Go, because things like Lickitung XL exist, and they make it hard for anyone to compete. Like I said before, a lot of people I knew that were climbing the leaderboard or making Legend had a Licky XL because it really was that good. Lickitung gave you a huge advantage if you had it in the Holiday Cup. I mean, in the Retro Cup. And also, another con was that things like Cresselia and Deoxys defense were actually really good in this cup. I fought a few of them, and Deoxys defense with Psycho Boost and Rock Slide did extremely well in this cup. Cresselia also, I saw a few Cresselias around here. Cresselia wasn't a bad idea because its ability to essentially take out all the water archetypes like Lapras, like Dugong. I saw a couple of Dugong in here. Give Altaria a hard time, as well as give the fighters, which are Lickitung XL's only real threat in this meta, a big problem. So Cresselia worked in a lot of teams. But that's the big con, the barrier to entry figure. Along with that was also Mew. For those of you that actually bought the Kanto Cup ticket, Mew was really freaking good in this cup, and you saw it everywhere. I saw it a lot. And if you don't have a Mew, or if you didn't essentially do the research to get Mew, didn't have your Mew yet, Mew was very powerful in this cup. Mew did very well for me in this cup, as well as other people using it against me and kicking my butt with it because it really was that good. Alright, so here's the top teams. As you see here, Zangoose was actually really interesting as a pick. In fact, it rated very high, mostly because of the amount of Frostus that were running around. Big problem with Zangoose is that it's really squishy. So if Zangoose didn't have shields, or if you couldn't squeeze out every bunch of HP it had, it practically died really easily. In fact, Zangoose can die to a lot of things, which you would think, and it, for example, Lickitung's Body Slam actually does a hell of a lot more damage than I thought. And of course, the second one with a ridiculous 18% usage was Lickitung XL. It was really that freaking good. It was super good. In fact, it was ridiculously good. And it was crazy. Lantern and Regirock. So this is why Alolan Graveler is on my dead list because there's a better rock type out there. And it's called Regirock. Regirock statistically, as you see here, is a lot more powerful and actually takes the team ratings. In fact, you don't see Agrav anywhere in the top usages, or just because it's just really not that. But so the most dominant rock type was actually Regirock. Other picks like Jellicent, Deoxys Defense, Shadow Champ, and Vigoroth made their way into the high ratings. And it just shows you that a lot of things that are recyclable, like Jellicent, Deoxys Defense, Jellicent, Vigoroth are really good. And things that are like barrier to entry wise, Deoxys Defense. Even though Deoxys Defense is a mythical, 5.3% of people use it, meaning something inaccessible was just extremely freaking powerful. And guess what? Frostless was used at a maddening. Frostless and Altaria were both used in either a quarter or more of teams. So again, the recyclability, which is really good. So in the future, I mean, Altaria just had a community day, but in the future, if you don't have a Frostless, you might want to invest in one because Frostless long-term does help you out a lot. It's been effective since the Holiday Cup for Frostless, so it's really freaking good. As you see here, a lot of top teams did feature Frostless in them. Frostless was used in a majority of the teams, and of course the most dominant team was actually Lickitung XL at a ridiculously high 6.9%. So Lickitung XL was pretty beastly. Again, if you did have one, it was extremely powerful, and it really put, as you see, there was a lot of combinations that did use it, and they had very high ratings as a result of it. Hypno was also a pretty good pick. As you see here, Hypno was used in a lot of teams. It's actually in the top 4 teams as far as Hypno goes, so Hypno is not a bad choice. Weather Ball was still out there, which is why you saw this Politoed. I saw a lot of Politoads in Retro Cup just because Politoed was the fastest beast in the Retro Cup. So again, a lot of I don't like the fact that Lickitung XL was on top of the food chain, but you know what? It is what it is, and if you had one, it did really freaking well for you. Alright, so here's a few Shoutcast battles. It's just a couple of teams that I put together. These were a lot of fun. As you see, I'm using Zangoose as my lead, Frostless Safe Switch, and Lapras Closer. This is my first variation of my team. It was Zangoose double ice. It was kind of like, you know what, let me throw something together, and this is what I came out with. As you see here, we switch our opponent. We win the lead against their Frostless, so they switch out into their Politoed. Like I said, Politoed was actually pretty beastly because of its ability to outpace literally every mon in the Retro Cup. As you see here, Lapras is a beast tank as well. If you put up Lapras against a Politoed, guess what? You pretty much, it can eat like 7 Weather Balls. It's insanity. Especially if you have Skull Bash. So I have Skull Bash for my Lapras here. I love Skull Bash a lot because Skull Bash allowed you to basically win the water mirrors and beat the water tank. So that's why Skull Bash Lapras was pretty awesome. Also, I already had this one built, so I didn't really have to do anything with it. But as you see here, I'm going to go for the Skull Bash. Hopefully this does go through. If it doesn't, that's perfectly fine because it's going to take a couple of Weather Balls to kill me anyways. And as you see, it does go through. My opponent was I would have shielded. If I was my opponent, I would have shielded anyways, just in case, because even if you figure out, if I try to bait you, then it's worth it anyways, because you're gonna resist both Ice Beam and Surf, so you might as well take a chance. But as you see here, because of this, I can actually win back switch or choose to let my Lapras go. In this case, I'm gonna let my Lapras should be able to eat another Weather Ball, as you see here, which was pretty nuts, and my opponent switches into an Altaria. I don't know why I would do that, because now your Altaria is locked into my Frostless. All I got, Ice Queen was so powerful. This is probably the worst matchup that your opponent could possibly, or you or your opponent actually, could actually ever see. Frostless against Altaria is a monster because Frostless can actually farm down Altaria, like full farm down, I believe, after expending, I think 1 shield. So, as long as you had, like, chip damage. As you see here, I try to undercharge a little bit, but because Frostless is so powerful, 1 Avalanche will yeet Altaria to oblivion. As you see, I'm furiously tapping on my Zangoose because with Politoed almost dead, I literally just have to watch my opponent sack, and then I should be able to win. That is if they sack. So I send in Zangoose, Night Slash goes off, no boost, but that's perfectly fine. Because Shadow Claw charges so fast, it's 8 energy a shot, and Night Slash is only 35, I can get off a bunch of Night Slashes before my opponent gets to 2 Avalanches. So as you see here, you're just going to chip away and pray for the boost. Well, you don't need a boost, but the boost would be pretty sweet. And as you see, Boost doesn't like me today. So, Ice Queen is going to avalanche me to, or attempt to avalanche me to death. I still have 2 shields, so this is my Zangoose pretty comfortable. All I have to do is watch for the swap. So, as you see here, I'm tapping on the side, and they do get the swap. So, as I say, watch for the swap. They get the swap. But it didn't really matter anyways, because I still have a shield. That's perfectly fine. And I'm only one Shadow Claw away from actually 2 Shadow Claws, but I got the boost and I still have a shield. So, that's GG's. As I say, watch, when I actually see, like, when I was actually looking at this battle, I was like, all I have to do is watch for the sack, and I was like, alright. And then I decided, I was like, you know what, there's no point. Even if they did sack on me, as you saw there, it would have been fine, because I could still get to 2 Night Slashes. And that's GG's. Zangoose double ice was a lot of fun, so, it was a lot of fun. Because I already made Legend, I messed around a lot here. Next, I have a fellow legend, Go Trainer for you. I actually know this person, so I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. And this is not going to be fun, because I technically lose this lead. So, against Chestnut, Chestnut with superpower is very dangerous, because it resists my Night Slash. So, the only way I am going to actually be able to win this matchup is if this close combat goes through. And if you could guess it, yes it does, which was a horrible idea. But I would have shielded, and I switch into Frostless. My opponent throws a move. They don't switch out. They're just going to let it go. And then I shield. It was superpower, which is unfortunate, but that's perfectly fine. Getting rid of Chestnut makes me really comfortable. Because now I can guess that they're going to send in their counter to Frostless, or they're going to send in their back row. And we get a Mantine. So Mantine against Frostless isn't exactly a great matchup. This Mantine is likely carrying Bubble Beam and Ice Beam, but because Frostless is so powerful with energy advantage, as you see here, I can get a bunch of avalanches off, and I shouldn't have to shield anything and still win this matchup. This is why Frostless was so dang strong. It is so powerful. It is so powerful. It's literally super broke. As you see here, my opponent does fire a Bubble Beam, so I'm going to guess they're just going to straight Bubble Beam me down. But because Frostless is so strong, even though it's debuffed, Avalanche should be able to KO along with all that Powder Snow chip damage. As you see here, they're going to blast Bubble Beam over and over again, but I should be able to get to another Avalanche and either force that last shield, or they're just going to let Mantine go. But as you see, it's just, I have a lot of an advantage here, because I'm essentially just going to take out 2 of their Mons, and then I still have a Lapras in the back. My opponent elects to shield, and I'm kind of wondering why, but like, I would have let Mantine go, because you could survive that Avalanche and still attempt to Bubble Beam down, but they go for the full farm down, and I send in Lapras. So with Lapras, what I can do here is just fully farm down this Mantine. I don't have to shield anything. Ice Beam and Bubble Beam are resisted, and even if they had Aerial Ace, it wouldn't do a lot of damage, because Aerial Ace is a terrible move. As you see, they fire the Bubble Beam, and they're gonna fire both. They're gonna just blow all their energy here, and then either swap out or just let their Mantine go. In my case, my switch timer's already up as well, so I can swap into Zangoose. I switch into Zangoose. There's no real use of having it alive. I still have a shield. Lapras has energy. There's no reason for me to keep Lapras alive. Lapras has a ton of energy already, so I should be able to Skull Bash down this Altaria after a little bit of chip damage, as you see here. My opponent is just recklessly firing. They're going to Dragon Breath me down. Sadly, I don't get another Night Slash, but that's perfectly fine, because I'm only 1 Ice Shard away from a Skull Bash. I'm going to shield this, Skull Bash this poor Golden Burb, and then all I'm going to do is just fast move Ice Shard down the Mantine in the back, and that's GG's. GG's to my friend. I know him pretty well. I don't know him super well, but I do know this person, but if they won the Chestnut matchup, I would have been in a lot of trouble. But as you see here, because close combat does so much damage, that's GG's. Again, Chestnut versus Zangoose, not a powerful matchup, but because we were willing to punch our opponent in the face through 2 shields, we won the dub. We got the dub. And then my last match. So for my last match, I'm actually using Bibarel. So the hardest counter to Frostless is either Litleo XL or Bibarel, just because it like hard walls Frostless. So I actually saw a lot of those Pokemon being used in this cup. We get a Crustle into my Bibarel, which is really funny because Bibarel beats Crustle with Water Gun. They switch into Gyarados. I'm going to switch into my Frostless. I should be able to get to an Avalanche here, but my opponent does have... I'm going to shield everything. I should be able to force a bunch of shields here, and I don't want my Frostless to eat a crunch. So I'm just going to shield both things. Even if it's an Aqua Tail, it's perfectly fine. Dragon Breath does a lot of damage, so I want to keep my Frostless as healthy as possible. Should have a pretty good advantage here, but yeah. A lot of people were using Bibarel Litleo. Again, it was like a hardest wall of Frostless. I got beat by a few of them, and I beat a few of them. You can actually bully through Litleo with Avalanche, just because Avalanche does so much damage, even if Litleo is an XL, which is interesting enough. But it has to have some chip damage. So, as you see here, I'm just going to attempt to just Avalanche my opponent to death. I get a little more energy. That's why you see me overcharge just a little bit. I know my opponent can't get to a Crunch that easily, because Crunch still takes a little bit of time to get to because of Dragon Breath. They let the Avalanche through, I win switch, and I happen to get a Gengar. Thanks to that overcharge, I should be able to get this last Avalanche Arch, which is great because I really needed this. And then I still have my Bibarel and a full Mew in the back. So I send in Bibarel, and then Bibarel is able to get to a Surf before my opponent is able to get to a Sludge Bomb or Focus Blast if they have that. This Surf should kill, ironically. Emperor Bibarel is so powerful, and it takes out the Gengar. And then my opponent sends in their Crustle, and I believe they just Rage Quit. Or just top left. I don't think they Rage Quit, but top left. And that's GG's. Hope you guys enjoyed this battles. Retro Cup was a little bit of fun, but honestly, I hated the XL Licky dominance, and you just saw the same things over and over. It was just that, like, bland. It wasn't that interesting at all. And that's all, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you made Legend already. If not, if you made your goals, or if you're just trying to make like Expert or something like that, hopefully you made your goals as well in either the Retro Cup or you're making it right now. Still have a few days left, so I hope and wish you the best for your Legend climb. As you see here, Retro Cup was, in my opinion, for the Retro Cup, it was kind of like 50-50. Let me know what you guys thought about it in the comments. I was kind of like 50-50 about it. This meta was so bland, you could use triple Dragon Breath and it could still be really good. Like, I saw a lot of people posting on Twitter like, oh, I'm using triple Dragon Breath to go, and I'm like, what? But that's boring. And I tried it out for myself, and sure enough, it was boring. It was really boring, yeah. But it just shows you just how Go Battle League seriously needs to, like, nerf or, like, give us the ability to ban things like Dragon Breath or Charm. Like, I don't believe moves like that should exist. If it competitive is like tapping your opponent down, that's going to look so bad to the casual eye that I don't think it would attract people to play Pokemon Go PvP. That's just my opinion, but actually that's pretty factual, because a lot of people I ask, like just casual people that never play Go Battle, they're like, why are you tapping on your phone? So yeah, it does look bad. But yeah, it's what it is. Retro Cup was very similar to the Holiday Cup in the sense that Frostless really dominated the competition, and you saw a lot of Altarias as well. Psychic types, like adding psychic types just made it a lot more chaotic. I don't really like, unless there's like a change to the system, like future cups are gonna be pretty bland and boring. Like, they're a blind format, like, it's just what it is. But yeah, the Retro Cup, in my opinion, was just meh. It could have been better, but then again, a lot of things Niantic could have done as far as cups wise, or even the Go Battle League system itself, or PvP itself. Massive change. I would have rather had a change to Go Battle League, which would have benefited it, like, its competitive sense, rather than have this boring Retro Cup, which really was not really that thought out. I felt like someone at Niantic's table was just like, oh my god, alright, so what's the next cup we're gonna do? Oh, let's make the first original types! And then they're like, yeah! And then they're like, no, let's not do something that could improve the system, but it's what it is. If you guys haven't done so yet, please like and subscribe. If you look to the bottom right, you can easily subscribe by putting your mouse over there and then clicking on that sub button. I do appreciate you guys. Thank you for all your patience while I was at Vegas. I had a lot of fun, and I can't wait to put out that blog content for you. But this is my Retro Cup summary. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And again, let me know what you guys thought about the Retro Cup in the comments, whether you liked it or not, or what could have been better. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.